So I just want to come on here and do a little get ready with me while we talk about my chronic illnesses and what I want to get out of this channel. So I started developing symptoms when I was probably about 7, and I only really started to speak to doctors and stuff when I was 11. And when I turned 11 and my mum started noticing a big difference in my chronic pain, I only really started going to the doctor when my mum started noticing a big difference in my mobility. So she took me to the doctor, and the doctor basically said, "Oh, it's just growing pains. It should get better, as she gets older." My mum was like, "Okay, sounds about right." I mean, when I was growing, I, would have quite bad growing pains. So as soon as my mum heard that, she was like, "Yep, that's probably what it is. I'm sure things will get better with time." So flash forward, things didn't get better with time. I was becoming more and more sore, more and more tired. I wasn't able to do the things people my age were doing. And this really frustrated me because I was such a people person. I loved being around people. I loved doing the things all my friends were doing. I loved going out with my friends, going to the park, stuff like that. And I just wasn't able to do it. And I was struggling a lot with back pain. Like, back pain was my main worry. So my mum took me to the doctor again, and she was like, "Look, this back pain is getting really, really bad." And again, they just went, probably just growing pains. She'll be fine. So it got to the point where my mum had to take me into hospital because the back pain had gotten so severe that I could no longer feel my legs. And it was at that point the doctor started going, maybe something is actually wrong here. So they did some tests on me, sent me for some scans. I went and got an MRI scan done. And as soon as they got that scan back, they were like, she has scoliosis. So after I got told that, I was like, well, shit. This is the rest of my life gone. But I was being overdramatic. It wasn't the rest of my life gone, it was just, a little change. I was cool with that. It took me a long time to push past the fact that, my life wasn't going to be the same as all of my friends. I had to move school because I was being quite badly bullied. So I said to my mum, "Look, I do not want to be in school anymore. This is really, really getting to me." So my mum was like, "Right, let's see if we can get you into a different school." And she did. And it was the greatest decision that I've ever made for myself. It was probably the best thing that could have happened to me because I went to a school then with better support. When you go to a school with a better support system and a better support class, it makes the world of difference. So I then went to support most days. Didn't really go to class much because my fatigue was just too bad for me to actually be able to do my classes. I couldn't really go to my classes. I didn't have a lot of energy. I was exhausted all the time. So eventually my last years of school were spent in the support corridor, doing not much, to be honest. Sometimes classwork, sometimes I just sat on my phone. But at the end of the day, I was still in school, my attendance was still alright. After that, I left school in S4, I went to college, another amazing decision, because now I could use mobility aids and not feel like the entire school was going to judge me. Because when I had used mobility aids before in school, I had everyone and their bloody dog being like, oh my god, what happened to you? And as much as I understand that people can be curious, right? What I don't understand is why people feel the need to be so forward about it. Like, oh look, a disabled person that wasn't disabled before or didn't have the confidence to actually use mobility aids when they needed them. It's like, oh look, now I feel like I have to ask this person every single detail of their life. Shocker. So I went to college. It was easier. It was easier on my body because the days were shorter. I was now in college from 10 in the morning until 4, but at the end of the day, it's college, you're not doing much. Most of your lessons are short. You get an hour break in between each lesson, which just made the world of difference. And with that, I met friends who I honestly now cannot live without. One of those friends actually told me to go back to the doctor when my heart started acting up. So I would walk up a flight of stairs, and as soon as I'd walk up that flight of stairs, I would be wheezing. Now, not wheezing in the sense of like asthmatic wheezing, wheezing in the sense of I'm gonna pass the hell out if I do not sit down right now. And that had been happening to me for years, but we all just passed it off as possible asthma. Eventually I went back to the doctor. I was like, look, these weird things are happening to my body when I walk. And she was like what? I was like, well, my heart rate rises 30 beats a minute, which I'm pretty sure isn't meant to happen. So, I then went to her and I was like, look, something's not right. Something is definitely not right. She's like, okay, I'll send you over to cardio, and we'll see what happens. Well, yeah, I'm sure cardiology will know what to do. They seem like the right people for the job. So I go to cardiology. After I get all this tests done, I go back home, you know, everything's back to the way it was before I went to go and speak to the cardiologist. Nothing really's changed. Other than the fact that they did keep me in for a 3-hour ECG, which isn't standard, by the way. I thought this was just standard. They said they'd found something and they wanted to check it out. And I was like, okay. And at this point I was like, maybe I'm right. Maybe something is actually wrong with my body, which I know sounds absolutely wild to say, but it's one of those things that you know your body best. So I go speak to my cardiologist and he's like, right, we've done the test. You can go home now. I was like, oh, okay. I thought I was gonna get told then and there what was wrong with me, but that's what I get for hoping. So I go back. We will tell you when we know the results. It's like, great, amazing. This is perfect. So I wait, and I wait, and I wait. Eventually I start to get pissed off because I'm like, this was 3 months ago. I should have results by now. And apparently the cardiologist just refused to give it to me. He refused to give me my diagnosis. I phoned my doctor. I'm like, look, it's been 5 months. Do you mind chasing this up for me? She was like, yeah, totally. That is totally fine. So she goes to him and she goes, what were the results? And he just says, flat out, oh yeah, she's got POTS. And I'm sat there, seething, absolutely seething with anger. And I'm like, it really doesn't take that long to write out a letter and to speak to someone about the diagnosis. So I speak to my doctor and I'm like, so is that an official diagnosis? And she was like, yeah, that's an official diagnosis. I was like, that's the first official diagnosis I've ever been given other than my official diagnosis of scoliosis. I was ecstatic. I was at college at the time when I phoned her. And I actually had to hold myself back from jumping for joy because I knew she'd find that kind of weird. And as weird as it sounds to say, I was happy. I was so happy that I could finally get treatment. About that. I did not get treatment until 6 months later, when I had to phone my GP again and be like, look, I've done all the things that have been asked of me to do. I don't know what to do. I was struggling. And she says to me, she's like, Kai, I will speak to them. She went and she spoke to the cardiologist. The cardiologist then said, there's nothing we can do about it. And at that point I started crying. I was sobbing. I was wailing. And I was like, the hell do you mean there's nothing you can do about it? My doctor eventually said, she was like, look, there is this one medication that I can put you on without your cardiologist's consent. I was like, okay, give it to me. She was like, done. Been on that medication for 6 months now. I've not passed out in about 3. So I would call that a win in my book. I am so grateful for everyone that I have in my life. For my amazing GP who knows just how to fight with consultants for me. For the countless crying phone calls I've been made to her. Just about the fact that I'm fed up with all of this. And I may have had this for coming on 10 years, but I'm still not fully come to terms with it. And to be honest, sometimes I don't think I ever will. It's one of those things that changes so much in your life. It shows you who your true friends are. It is a grieving process. It'll forever be a grieving process. And everyone grieves at their own rate. You'll never be able to predict it. As much as you try, you will never be able to predict it. Believe me. I've tried. As long as you surround yourself with people that you love, and people that love you, then you can't fail. It's one of those things, really, that no one can really understand what you're going through unless they walk a mile in your shoes. It's the same when it comes to employers, family members. You learn to explain. And you learn to forgive. And as hard as it is, you learn to cope with it. Because no one is going to understand your health the way that you understand it. Well, if you made it this far, thank you. I just want to make a nice community for people with chronic illnesses to come together and to learn a couple of things. And if you take anything from my video, take this. It doesn't matter what your illness is. Nothing can hold you back from what you really want to do in life. And don't let other people break you down, as hard as it is. But yeah, I'll see you next time, guys. Leave comments of what videos you want to see from me next. Love you.